Hello, everyone. You are watching Sincerely Delivered Podcast. I'm your host, Amaya Lisette. If you guys are new here, I just wanted to welcome you guys to the family. I just wanted to let you guys know that this is a safe place where we just hold each other accountable sincerely and that we do it out of love. For this walk is not easy, but it is a little bit easier when you have people along you and beside you and helping you. And yeah, if you guys are coming back, I just wanted to say welcome back, guys. This video is gonna be quite hard for me. As y'all see, today I'm gonna be sharing my story. I'm gonna be sharing my testimony. And if I could be honest with you guys, I was not planning to share it so soon. I wasn't planning to record this today at all whatsoever. Um, but the Lord had told me that this is what He wanted to do. So I just know that there is somebody out there who needs to hear this, that may be dealing with it, or needs some help, or needs advice, or you just need to see somebody that overcame it. And this is going to be very uncomfortable for me because I never shared my full testimony. I know a few people got like little bits of it, and even some of my closest family and my closest friends don't even know my story, which is crazy to say, but this is just something that's extremely personal. It's so personal. And just be prepared to bring a box of tissues out. Be prepared to shed a few tears because this is about to get so real. And I just ask that the Lord takes any anxiety, any nervousness out my body, and that I may speak boldly to you guys. And I just want to say that this testimony brings God all the glory, guys. I might have put the work in, but I literally give God all the glory and all the praise. And before I start, I just want to say that I'm so thankful for God. I'm so thankful that He came in when He did and He saved me, because I literally would not be here without Him. And here I go getting a little emotional already. But I would not be here without Him. And this is why I devote my life to Him. This is the reason why I'm here right now, because my past does not define me, and I am a new creation in Christ. And just because it doesn't define me doesn't mean that I can't share it, because that's who I was. That girl is nowhere to be found. That girl is 6 feet deep. But I can show y'all, and this is very much going to be a Paul moment. If y'all have read, or if y'all read the story of Paul, y'all would know what I'm talking about. But this is very much a Paul moment. And yeah, so please bear with me if I start to take long pauses or stutter a little bit. This is a lot, and I don't have a game plan for it. I'm literally just going with the flow. So yeah, I really don't know where I should start off at. I guess I could start off from the beginning. So when I was about 1 year old, my mom and my biological father ended up splitting apart. And it was very hard for me growing up, because he wasn't active in my life. And it caused me to grow up in abandonment, and it started to interfere with my self-worth, because I just thought that I wasn't enough, and I just couldn't wrap around my mind of why he couldn't be in my life. I just didn't understand it, and it bothered me so much because I loved my dad so much with my whole entire heart, and I still do. But it was very hard for me growing up, and I have two sisters on my dad's side, and while I was growing up, I would hear that he would talk to them or see them more than he did me. And it hurt me so much because I really used to think that he didn't want anything to do with me, or he was just putting up with me because he had to. I really felt like a burden. I really felt as though he didn't love me, that he loved my sisters more than me. And it caused me to grow up with daddy issues. I was a girl with daddy issues because I craved my dad to be in my life, and the Lord um, just didn't have that written down in my story at that time. When I say he wasn't active, I seen him, but it was very much like holidays only. It wasn't like every other month. It was like Christmas, birthdays sometimes. Like it was not active whatsoever. And it's crazy because whenever I was with my dad, it made up for all the times that I wasn't with him. And I loved my dad. So when I was with my dad, I just forgot about all the times that he wasn't present. And I just, took in all the time that I was with him. Just to backtrack a tad bit, when I was about 2 years old, my mom ended up getting together with my stepdad, my stepfather, and he is the one that took me in as his own. He was the one that was the father figure in the house, and I really feel as though God had called me to him, and I'm very appreciative because he didn't have to do that, especially at a young age. But he took on another man's responsibility, and he loved me as his own. But unfortunately, it was days where I appreciated him, but I just wanted my actual blood father. It was like I just couldn't understand why somebody even had to take his place, and it really messed with my self-worth growing up. Um, I'm sorry. It really messed with my self-worth growing up, and it really made me feel like I wasn't valuable because how can a girl's father leave her? How could a girl's father not love her but love his other children? And I know that this was what the enemy was trying to tell me because he is deceitful. And even though that wasn't true, I was farther from my sisters. I was farther distanced from them. So that played one of the reasons why he couldn't come. And I'm not trying to give excuses, but yeah, that was one of the reasons and stuff. So growing up, I could say that I was very disciplined. When I was younger, my parents was very strict, and I am 100% grateful for how I was raised. I was 100% grateful because that's the reason of who I am today. That is what built me and what shaped me. But we all have those things that are triggers to us. We all have um, childhood traumas or certain things that we just don't agree with what our parents did to us, right? So I'm not going to get too deep into that because I really don't want to offend anybody, but um, I could say that it was kind of tough love, not really tough love, but when it was tough, it was tough. Okay, if that makes sense. So yeah, I grew up. Um, People didn't really know, even my own mom, I didn't really communicate to her how I was feeling or how my dad affected me. And quite honestly, you couldn't even tell because I was a kid full of sunshines and rainbows, smiles all day, every day. But I was really battling with certain things behind closed doors that a lot of people didn't know about. Um, and I remember in elementary school, and this is how this is such a full circle moment, because I remember in elementary school I had um, made like a type of quote unquote community, and I did it so that we could speak up about how we felt, because I know that a lot of us wasn't comfortable with speaking to our parents or speaking to the adults. So I had made a little group during recess. We would sit outside in a circle, and I didn't know nothing about like therapy or nothing like that, but and we would talk about it. And at that time, I know that there was kids dealing with abuse. There was kids dealing with the same things as me. So it was nice to have understanding that we wasn't alone in that time. I wasn't like preaching the gospel or sharing the sorry, not preaching. I am not a preacher, guys, but sharing the gospel. But it's crazy that the Lord had it in me at such a young age, and to just see me here now doing the same thing. It's just really a full circle moment. But to get back on track, growing up, I was raised in church. I knew who God was. I knew of God. Not necessarily had a relationship with him, but I knew that at nighttime we had to pray. I knew on Sundays we went to church. Um, I know I love music, so I loved the gospel songs, but I wasn't necessarily worshiping God when I sang them. I just liked the beat of the music. When I was about 14, 15 years old, um, on top of dealing with the rejection and the abandonment, um, my stepfather ended up hanging around the wrong type of people, got into something that he wasn't supposed to, or accused of something that didn't happen, and had to pay consequences for it, which caused him to have to leave for a few years. And when I say a few years, I believe it was about four or so years. So it was a while, and that really took a toll on me. It affected me so bad, and it had me questioning God, and I was angry with God because I just didn't understand the purpose of what he was doing, to where he could take my actual biological father um away from me, or that he wasn't present in my life, and then the person that did take his place, that was the father figure in my life, that did love me, that was with me every day, despite how I was raised, how he was taking him away as well. And it made me turn into this very dark, dark place. Um, and again, I'm a teenager at this time, 15 years old. And again, a lot of people didn't know um, about the situation that happened. It was very traumatic. We had a lot of cops and German shepherds and rifles just waking me up one night, and it was traumatizing. It was extremely traumatizing, and then on the top of that, to um, have to go into prisons, and the way they was just so mean and rude and cruel, and it was a very scary situation. And on the top of that, I had to mature. I had to grow up faster, because I had to help my mom out with my brothers and sisters. And when I tell you guys, again, nobody could tell what I was going through, because I would always help others. I would always smile at others. I was always nice to others. But every night I cried myself to sleep. I was battling with, now that I know, was depression. And the enemy was literally trying to take me out. The thoughts got so loud in my head, guys, and I literally could not take it, to the fact that I did not want to be on earth no more. I literally could not take it that I wanted to take my own life. And it was bad. It was a dark, 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 dark place that I would never ever want to go back to. So I was battling with suicide. But to kind of backtrack, because I missed a very, very important part, that I was introduced to lust at a very young age. Um, for one, the daddy issues played a part because I was looking for the love that I was craving, that I was missing from my father, and I was looking for it in all the wrong places, which caused me to get hurt, which caused me to really have abandonment issues and to really face rejection. And um, at a very young age, I had lustful thoughts, not just for men, but also for females. And then growing up, uh, I got addicted to porn and masturbation, and I wasn't actually sexually active with people, but that was the way for me to get pleasure. And it was something about the porn, guys, that it wasn't just me watching both genders have intercourse, it was female and female. And I struggled with that for such a long time. Um, I always thought that women were attractive, and I never was in an actual relationship with them, but I most definitely, did certain things. And I'm just so, 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 so grateful that the Lord gave me grace. Despite all the things that I've done, He gave me grace. Um, and he's he looked past all the bad things and all the addictions and all the generational curses that was on me. And He's seen the person that He sees now. He's seen the person that will fully be devoted to Him. And He literally turned my pain into purpose. And I will forever, forever, forever be grateful for that, because I did not deserve it, guys. So I'll say that I was watching porn at a very young age. I'll say like probably around 14, 15, maybe a little bit younger than that. Liked girls um, way before that. And then when I had hit rock bottom, to where I couldn't take no more, to where I was in a very dark place, where the enemy was speaking so loudly in my head that I wasn't able to concentrate on anything else. It was very tiring. And I remember um, when I was facing suicidal thoughts and facing suicide, the Lord told me not yet. Um, and He literally didn't even allow it to happen. He didn't allow it to happen. And it was really such a supernatural thing that happened, because when I tell you only God was able to stop it, it was living proof that it was from God. So after that time, I just told God, like, I don't know what your purpose is for me. I don't understand why you're not allowing me to leave. But I just guess that I have to be here. I'm not enjoying it. But eventually I hope that you give me clarity, you give me answers on what's the point of being here. So about 16 years old, um, a friend of mine that I had when I was younger introduced me to a youth group um, called Light League Teens, and that literally changed my life. That is literally where I felt the true presence of God for the first time ever. That is the first time that I learned how to worship. That was the first time I knew how to pray. And I didn't feel alone because I had kids my age who was battling with depression, battling with suicide, battling with anxiety, battling with shame, battling with guilt. I wasn't alone. And the enemy tried to make me seem like I was going insane and that I was going crazy and that my life um, wasn't important and that I should just end it all. And even though I don't speak to the girl anymore, I always thank God that He used her to allow me to be introduced to that program. And I ended up getting baptized at that program or ministry. And that was the start of my relationship with God. I was on fire for Him. I loved Him so much, and I would literally like post about Him. And when I had my personal channel, and I had like Q&As, people would ask me about my relationship with God. And at this time, I prayed to God. I worshiped God. I didn't really read my word because I didn't have a Bible, but there most definitely was a relationship. And I loved him so much because at that time he literally saved me. So I believe I was there for a year or two, maybe a year and a half, and then COVID happened and it got shut down and it never got opened up again. And then we know that COVID was it was such a hard time, and I ended up falling into the world. I ended up falling into the world's trap. And I became one of the most worldliest girls ever. And at this time, I had this situation with this boy, again, very lustful, and he treated me so terrible, guys. And at this time, I was young and I was naive and I believed everything he told me. I was so gullible, and he was literally treating me so bad, guys. He was talking to me and a million other peoples, but then would lie and make it seem like he only loved me. He only wanted me, but he didn't make the commitment to actually be with me. He just told me that, you my girl, right? Um, but most definitely treated me terrible and only wanted one thing from me. And I'm so grateful that the Lord didn't allow that to happen. Being in relations with him and then falling into the world, I became super worldly. I had the most dirtiest mouth and dirtiest mind on the planet. I couldn't go a sentence without a cuss word. I got addicted to alcohol. I didn't necessarily like to actually smoke, but I loved the feeling of getting high. So I ate edibles, and the main thing at this time was alcohol, though. Alcohol has this thing on my bloodline, and the enemy knew what would take me out. And guys, when I say I literally knew my limits and would go over them on purpose. I had to be the one who was the most done up. I had to be the one that was the most done up. I had to be the one that was blackout drunk. I had to be the one that didn't want to remember anything because I was also looking for fulfillment in the world, and I felt so far away from God, and I felt so bad because at this time I knew that these was things that I shouldn't do, but it was fun to me. It had a stronghold on me. So I felt such a huge burden, and I just kept running away from God. I knew God was good. I knew He loved me, but that relationship and that fire that I had for Him literally went off. I truly had stopped having a relationship with God and started to be committed to the devil. I was literally living for the world, and I was literally the devil's play toy. He was having field days with me because of my flesh. It was so weak, and at the time I thought that these things was fun. That was my fulfillment, and I felt as though it was such a huge burden. So I didn't give it to God, and I actually ran away from him. I turned my back on him. I turned my back on the one who loved me. I turned my back on the one who saved me. And sometimes I just be in like disbelief of that. Like, how dare you? How could you? And the Lord still gives me so much grace that I don't deserve. I mistreated him so badly. And he still said, I love you, come home. He had his arms wide open for me. But yeah, guys, so it was literally times where I didn't remember how I got home. It was times where I didn't remember where certain things happened, with certain altercations happened, to where I was wanting to fight and wanting to be rude with people. It was times where I literally just didn't remember anything. I literally used to have really bad hangovers, really bad migraines, and it was bad. And I literally used to feel so dirty for it. And in the moment, it felt good, but then afterwards, I would be sad again, or I would have these thoughts occur again. It was that worldly fulfillment, and I was spiritually dead. So spiritually dead. When I said in one of my episodes that I was a dead person walking alive, I literally look back at the pictures of myself and I can't recognize that person. She literally looks terrible. Like, me and her are so unrecognizable. But yeah, guys, so I was living for the world, and then one day I felt as though I couldn't do this. It was something missing, and I realized that I wanted to focus that relationship with God again. And thank you to my granny, because she is the reason why I go to church. She ended up taking me every Sunday, and I would go with her. But at this time, I was very, very lukewarm. I would go party or get drunk at my friend's house, um, and then go to church with a hungover the next day. Uh, I would literally eat edibles and still be high and go to church the next day. I would literally have sexual interactions that Sunday morning and then go to church the next few hours. It was absolutely lukewarm. I would post a quote about God but never open my Bible. Yeah, y'all, it was bad. It was so bad. But it was like I seen a post that said something like, if you only eat on Sundays, you will starve. I was starving. And my mindset was literally, well, at least I'm showing up. God should be happy that I'm showing up. My mindset was in the gutter. It was terrible. Um, that was literally the bare minimum. Wasn't even the bare minimum. And I was giving it to God. And I was literally telling him that he should be happy that I'm giving him the bare minimum. I would post like a little quote here and there, but my lifestyle didn't reflect Jesus one bit. I was living lukewarm for about a year, and then my grandfather, who I love with my whole entire heart and existence, was ill, and he ended up he ended up passing away last year. And my grandpa was literally my favorite person in the world. Um, And he was one of my true father figures, especially when I didn't have both of them around at the same time. Ever since I was little, my grandpa was like my safe place. He would always make me laugh. He would always treat me like a princess. And whenever I was with him, um, it was like I was distracted. I wasn't able to focus on the dark thoughts and stuff because he was such a beam of light. You know, he was so bright that it impacted me. Um, and um, I ended up losing him, and that was one of the hardest things that I ever faced. I never faced or dealt with losing anybody for real, especially like a family member or friend. So the first person being my favorite person in the world, it broke me. It broke me into a million pieces. And I questioned God. At this time, you know, I was starting to have a relationship with Him. You know, I knew God. Uh, Again, lukewarm, but I questioned God. And I said, what is it with you taking the men out of my life? Why can't I have a sustainable male figure, male person, father figure in my life? I said, you knew that he was my everything, you know? And it was very hard because the doctors ended up telling us, you know, he had a few months and it ended up only being a few weeks. And it broke me. I wasn't prepared for it. And I remember the night it happened, um, I realized that I wanted to stay the night at his house. And they live about 5 minutes away from me. So I drive home and I take about 10 minutes. I come back and I see like 6 ambulance cars flashing lights. So I speed around the block and I remember going in there and I'm screaming at everybody and I'm like, what's going on? And I just remember my mom looking at me and shaking her head no. And I just felt my heart literally break in half. It was so heartbreaking. And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want it to be a reality. And I remember running outside, laying on the floor, screaming, asking God why. And why didn't He allow me to be there when it happened? Um, Screaming at Him. It was so hard. And even though I was in confusion and I didn't understand, let me even though I was in confusion and I didn't understand, I literally had to run to God. I know in the grieving process, a lot of people run away from God, they question God, and they kind of distance themselves. But I had to literally run to God because if I haven't, I would have literally lost my mind. Jesus was the only one that was able to keep me sane during this process. I would have literally lost my mind. In the midst of it all, um, I'm appreciative. God gave me confirmation and clarity, and I know that He is upstairs in heaven with God, worshiping and praising Him. Um, and He is not hurting, and He is gonna see me again, and I will see Him again. and I have peace within that. But I also have peace because this was the moment where I devoted my life to Christ. Because honestly, I really feel as though if I didn't run to God, I would have been in a grave right along with my grandpa. I'm pretty sure that if I would have depended on my own strength, it would have led to suicide. The enemy wanted the darkness to overcome me, to take a place in my heart, but Jesus' light shined so bright within me that the enemy had to flee. And grieving is hard. And yes, I lost somebody, but I had Jesus by my side. And I had comfort in the fact of knowing that he dealt with these same things. Before he rose Lazarus from death, he wept. He lost a close person to him. So the Lord was just constantly giving me comfort, and then I started reading my word more. I started, being active in church. I started watching sermons, and then the Lord blessed me with a equally yoked friend, which is my best friend. And then from there, it was like we just both motivated each other and was on fire. And she's one of my biggest blessings as well. Um, and I love her so much. She's a true sister in Christ. One of the true reasons of um, of who I am today as well, because she was able to keep me accountable. She was able to pray for me when I wasn't able to pray for myself. And if you're watching this, bestie girl, I love you so much. You're part of the testimony for sure. Um, yeah, I literally ran to Jesus, and he was there for me. Despite me turning my back on him, despite wanting to kill myself, despite being addicted to porn, despite being addicted to alcohol, despite liking females, he didn't care about none of that. Because at the end of the day, they was all sins. And he still loved me anyways while I was in the middle of doing it. And he knew that I would overcome it. He was literally speaking to the person that overcame it already. My God. Y'all, he is so good. He is so good. I'm just grateful that I gave him my yes, because I didn't even have to do nothing, and the Lord just started moving in my life. It's a privilege to be able to be in his presence. It's a privilege to be able to speak from him and hear from him. We are privileged. And about a few months ago, the Lord had gave me, and this is where I'm going to finish it off at, because this is so important. The Lord gave me my last confirmation. I was praying to him, and I was just thinking about my grandpa, and I was shaky. I was in a shaky place. I was dealing with spiritual warfare, and I was praying to God, and he literally told me, he said, I know you always asked me why you never had a stable male figure in your life, but I want to let you know that I'm your father. And he didn't only say this one time. He repeated himself 3 times, and he said, I'm your father. I'm your father. I'm your father. This whole time, I had a father who loved me. This whole time, I had a father who seen my worth. This whole time, I had a father that was with me every step of the way. I had a father that was protecting me. I had a father who loved me. This whole time. This whole time, I was craving for that type of love, and I had it. He was giving it to me. And now that I actually receive it, and now that I actually choose to have a relationship with God, I love it. I love reading my word because I'm spending time with my father. The little girl is literally so happy now. The little Amaya is literally smiling so hard. And I'm also a princess because my father is Kings of Kings. He is the most high. I am a princess. Period. But yeah, so that was like the full 360 moment. And then once I gave myself to Christ, he was able to change me. You know, they say you are a new creation in Christ, and I am truly a new creation. The Lord literally delivered me from all the things that was drowning me, that was taking me out, that wasn't fulfilling me. And He replaced it with Him. He replaced it with the living water. He replaced it with His love and His peace and His joy and His patience and His kindness. And I will forever be grateful. And I just can't wait to spend eternity with my Father. I can't wait to spend eternity just worshiping Him and praising Him forever. But yeah, guys, if you have suffered or are currently suffering with all these things, I just pray that I give you a little hope. I just pray that you put your faith in God, you put your trust in God, and you give Him your yes and your amen, and you allow Him to move the mountains in your life. You allow Him to split the seas. You allow Him in, because it's the best decision and it's 100% worth it. Not easy, but worth it. And just like Jesus was in the synagogue knocking tables down, He's going to be knocking the worldly things down out of your life. He's going to be knocking the devil down. Okay? Amen. But yeah, guys, you are not alone. If I can overcome it, you most definitely can. And at first I was telling God, I was like, I don't think my story is that important. I don't think it's really going to help anyone. But if you are watching, just know that you aren't alone. Because the Lord told me to do this for a reason. You are not alone. Jesus is with you every step. If you are battling with daddy issues, with mommy issues, with sibling issues, with friend issues, you have a father, and His name is God. You have a friend, and His name is Jesus. And He lives within you. You are never alone. So yeah, guys, I love you all so much. I pray you guys have a beautiful, blessed day. If you need prayer, if you need advice on anything, if you have questions about anything, please comment down below. Follow our social medias, text us on there. And I will see y'all in the next episode. I love you all so much, and have a blessed one. Bye, y'all.